Hello, salam. My name is Kamiz Taqwai. I originated from Iran. On today's show, I would like to introduce you to my country's culture and traditions. The topic I have chosen is poetry and literature. There are several influences, poets and writers who have given a voice of Persian society. My guest, Mr. Sohrab, is of Tucson, will be reading a few selections. I hope that you'll enjoy it.
Hello, my name is Joseph Keel, also known as Sohrab Khay. I'm from Iran, and I moved to the United States in 1961, and I have lived here in this country ever since. It gives me a great pleasure, and I'm honored and privileged to be able to bring you a brief history of Iran, its literature and poetry. We have a very rich history of literature, poetry, and also way back in science. I would like to stress this particular program on Persian literature and poetry. Literature and poetry has a great place in our culture. We all love poetry, we all love to read poetry, and almost in every household in Iran there is a copy of some kind of poetry, mostly of Divan Hafiz, or perhaps Shahnameh Ferdowsi, which is the Book of Kings, written by the renowned poet Ferdowsi. There are two different kinds of poetry in our literature: the classic poetry and the modern poetry. Recently, a movement, a literary movement, I should say, in Iran created a new method of poetry, a new style of poetry called modern poetry. Prior to that, poetry was written in its classic form. Among our poets, I should say past and classic poets, we go back about 1200 years. We have Rudaki, Ansari, Ferdowsi, Sa'di, Hafiz, and many others.
صدای پاد از همه جاده ها میاد، انگار از یه شهر دور که از همه دنیا میاد. وقتی که در وا میشه لحظه دیدن میرسه، هرچی که جاده است رو زمین به سینه من میرسه. ای که تویی همه کسم، بی تو میگیره نفسم، اگه تو رو داشته باشم به هرچی میخوام میرسم، به هرچی میخوام میرسم. وقتی تو نیستی قلبمو واسه که تکرار بکنم گلهای خواب آلوده رو، واسه که بیدار بکنم دست کبوترای عشق، واسه که دونه بپاشه مگه تن من میتونه بدون تو زنده باشه. ای که تویی همه کسم، بی تو میگیره نفسم، اگه تو رو داشته باشم به هرچی میخوام میرسم، به هرچی میخوام میرسم. لا 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 عزیزترین سوغاتیه غبار پیران تو، عمر دوباره منه دیدن و بویدن تو. نه من تو رو واسه خودم نه از سر هوس میخوام، عمر دوباره منی تو رو واسه نفس میخوام. ای که تویی همه کسم، بی تو میگیره نفسم، اگه تو رو داشته باشم به هرچی میخوام میرسم، به هرچی میخوام میرسم. عزیزترین سوغاتیه غبار پیران تو، عمر دوباره منه دیدن و بویدن تو. نه من تو رو واسه خودم نه سر هوس میخوام، عمر دوباره منی تو رو واسه نفس میخوام. ای که تویی همه کسم، بی تو میگیره نفسم، اگه تو رو داشته باشم به هرچی میخوام میرسم، به هرچی میخوام میرسم. Okay, thank you so much for watching us. And next program is for about our culture. Okay, see you.
Hello again. Following our previous program, which was a brief history of Persian literature and poetry, today I would like to talk about a particular modern poet named Farooq Farrokhzad. Farooq was born in 1934. She grew up in Tehran, and from the very early age she had this desire to write poetry, for the simple fact that her father was a literary man. Of course, he was a colonel in the army. She grew up in Tehran and went to school in Tehran, and at the age of I think 17, in 1947 she married perhaps her first love, Parviz Shahpur. They lived together only 3 years. And the result of this marriage was a boy named Kamyar, who lives, I think, in Tehran now, and he also writes poetry. In 1950, they divorced, and he started this friendship with a filmmaker named Gulistan. She traveled to Italy and Germany in order to learn the art of filmmaking, which in her very brief life she made fantastic documentaries. Perhaps the most important one was called The House is Black, or Khane Siyah Hast, which was a documentary film about the leopard colony in Tabriz. It was a almost 3 minute movie which won Europe's top film prize. Following her travel to Germany, she had a brief encounter with some kind of mental sickness, which was hospitalized for a short while. And during her poetry life, she achieved what a lot of poets couldn't achieve or still are to achieve. So her poetry is very deep, meaningful, reflects the injustice in society, especially the inequality a woman in Iran. She dared to talk about things that no one could ever talk about prior to her poetry. Of course, no woman dared to talk about these things that she talked about. According to one of our modern poet, Akhavan Sales, she says about, or rather he says about Furugh Farrokhzad, that if she had lived long enough, she would have been our contemporary Hafiz, which is quite true by reading and looking at her poetry. Things that I would like to remind the audience is the fact that she was a daring woman. She was a wonderful, wonderful human being. And in addition to her own son Kamyar, he visited a leopard colony in Mashhad, and she adopted this child. The parents of this child were among the residents of this leopard colony, and she adopted their son named Hussein, and she raised him, and he lives now, and he's also a poet. To conclude this program for tonight, I would like to recite one of her perhaps bright poem. Named sun will shine. I first recite this poem in English and then following the English translation I would recite Farsi, the original poem in Farsi. As I said, the name of this poem is The Sun Will Shine, and this is one of a brighter poem that she wrote. The sun will shine. Look how sorrow within my eyes melts away drop by drop. How my dark defiant shadow being captured by the sun. Look, my whole entity is obliterated. The flare devours me, ascends me to the top, and allures me. Look, my entire heavens abundant by meteors. You came from far away, from the land of aeters and brilliancy, lounged me in a vessel of ivory, clouds, and crystals. Take me away, my dearest one, to the city of poetry and sensation, and lead me to the path of stars. Ascend me far above the stars. Look, look, I'm consumed by stars, overflown by burning stars. As ponds, carefree goldfish, counting the stars in a lonely night. Oh, our destiny was so far from the paradise. I can hear again now your voice, the sound of whispering angels. Look how far I have ascended. A galaxy, immense, eternity. Now that we have reached the heavens, cleanse me with the wave of its wine. Wrap me in your silky caress. Covet me in everlasting nights. Don't ever let me go. Don't ever part me from the stars. Look how gloom of night melts away drop by drop. How my sleep-starved eyes, by your warm lullaby, are gratified with inebriating sleep. You breathe upon the cradle of my poetry, and the sun starts to shine. Now I would like to recite the same poetry, which actually I had translated a while back. I would like to recite the Farsi version of it. I understand most of you don't understand it, but I think for the Farsi language audience it would be perhaps useful. Now the Farsi version of it. آفتاب می شود. نگاه کن که غم درون دیده ام چگونه قطره قطره آب می شود. چگونه سایه سیاه سرکشم اسیر دست آفتاب می شود. نگاه کن تمام هستیم خراب می شود. شرار ای مرا به کام می کشد. مرا به اوج می برد. مرا به دام می کشد. نگاه کن، تمام آسمان من پر از شهاب می شود. تو آمدی ز دورها و دورها، ز سرزمین عطرها و نورها. نشانده ای کنون مرا به زورقی، ز عاجها، ز ابرها، بلورها. مرا ببر امید دلنواز من، ببر به شهر شعرها و شورها. به راه پر ستاره می کشانیم، فراتر از ستاره می نشانیم. نگاه کن، من از ستاره سوختم، لبا از ستارگان تب شدم. چو ماهیان سرخ رنگ ساده دل، ستاره چین برکه های شب شدم. چه دور بود پیش از این زمین ما، به این کبود غرفه های آسمان. کنون به گوش من دوباره میرسد صدای تو، صدای بال برفی فرشتگان. نگاه کن که من کجا رسیده ام، به کهکشان، به بیکران، به جاودان. کنون که آمدیم تا به اوجها، مرا بشوی با شراب موجها. مرا بپیچ در حریر بوسه‌ات، مرا بخواب در شبان دیرپا. مرا دگر رها مکن، مرا از این ستاره ها جدا مکن. نگاه کن که موم شب به راه ما، چگونه قطره قطره آب می شود. صراحی سیاه دیدگان من به لای لای گرم تو، لبالب از شراب خواب می شود. به روی گاهواره های شعر من نگاه کن، تو میدمی و آفتاب می شود. مرسی. Thank you so much. This concludes tonight's program, and I hope we can get together again and see you wonderful people again. Stay safe and have a very good evening. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sorab, for introduction, our culture, Persian culture. And the next program is this Mexican church and then song, religious songs. And before leaving you, you can see my phone number here, in here. And if you have some skill and talent, you can call me. I can come to your house and make an appointment and we'll make a video with you. And I hope good luck, everybody. See you soon.